Hello everybody, E here. Welcome back to another book review. This is Time for a Tome. It's a very rarely seen series on this channel because tomes are big books, large books, long books. And today we are talking about Greg Iles, Mississippi Blood. This is the sixth and supposed to have been final pen cage thriller. It was not. Just this year, Southern Man was released, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna read it or not. It's a 1,000-page chunker, and I really don't want to spoil where this left off with another one-off addition to the series that seems like it's just a certain type of propaganda. Now, it may be a fantastic book. It may read quickly. It may be great. In fact, if you go look at the reviews, the only negative reviews are from conservatives saying that it's more woke trash. You know what they mean by that. But I kind of want to read it because of that, but I also don't want to read it because I don't want to have found that Greg Iles has gone down the same path that Stephen King has, and it's literally they have turned their whole careers into fussing about one person or one type of person. And if that's the case, I would rather just leave it here because Greg Iles gives a sense of hope toward the end of this book, that people can come together to solve problems and defeat villains and all that. I don't want to read what that other book is about. But this isn't a review of that one. It's a review of this one. At this point in time, Pen Cage, once again, this is book 6 of a series. Actually, it's book 3 of a series. Let me get this out of the way. I do not expect you to pick up and read this book without having read any of the other ones. I do suggest that you read at least Natchez Burning and the Bone Tree, which is the first two in the Natchez Burning trilogy. Now, why is it number 6? Because there are 3 novels before these with the same character that are not connected. You have The Quiet Game, which is the first Pen Cage thriller. Pen is Penn. His last name is Cage. Pen Cage. The second one is Turning Angel. The third one is The Devil's Punch Bowl, which was, up until this one, my favorite book in the series. And then he starts a very tightly connected series of books called the Natchez Burning series. It has Natchez Burning, of course, The Bone Tree, and this one, the final book, Mississippi Blood. The last Pen Cage thriller that was just published is called Southern Man. So this is the culmination of Natchez Burning and The Bone Tree. So book 6 in the Pen Cage series, book 3 in the Natchez Burning trilogy, the end. I highly recommend you read at least Natchez Burning or The Bone Tree. You do not have to have read The Quiet Game, Turning Angel, or The Devil's Punch Bowl, but there are minor spoilers for those books in this one. I have one criticism, just one criticism about this book, and then I'm going to gush my heart out. The one criticism I have is there is a twist in the last 100 pages of this book that was absolutely phenomenal. And then Greg Iles says, "Nah, just kidding. That's not actually what happened." I was so mad. I was updating this on Goodreads to my friends who have my Goodreads account. I deleted the Edward Lorn Goodreads account ages ago. If you see somebody on there posing as Edward Lorn, that's not me. I have been updating about this, and it's been all gushing this entire time I've read it, only to come to this scene, and I literally said, fuck this book. It's like, it pissed me off that badly. Before we continue on, one of the first things I'd like to say is one of the positive things, and we'll go back to that. I can't really talk about what else happened, what happened to piss me off, because it is a huge spoiler, even though it doesn't actually happen. It's not a dream sequence or anything, but it's like, okay, no, that's not the full story. But had that been the full story, I would have been very, very happy with it. I should have known it wasn't, because we still had 80 pages left, but I was like, this is the last book in a series. There's going to be a lot of falling action, a lot of saying goodbye to the characters. That is not the case. Literally, the book wraps up in like 10 pages there at the end. There's not a lot of mopey, oh, we're going to miss you, any of that stuff. This isn't the Dark Tower. This is Pen Cage. Iles does a fantastic job keeping the momentum pushing forward, using cliffhangers, giving you just a drop of information and then pushing you forward. That it's constant momentum. It took me 5 days to read a 700-page book. I am not used to reading that fast anymore. I am not used to. There's only one other author, even before I found Iles. There was only one other author that I could read over 500 pages in less than a week of, and that was Stephen King. Greg Iles, it'd probably be Carolyn Kepnes too, if it wasn't for the fact that she doesn't write books over like 400 pages, really. She hasn't written one that's 500 pages yet, so I can't really say that. But I read her books in like 2 or 3 days, if that. I know some of you are sitting out there going, oh my God, you read fast. And then there's another contingency of you that are out there going, good God, you read slow. Yes, I am right in the middle, and I like where I'm at. I don't read too fast. I don't read too slow. I absorb everything. It's great. I love it over here. If you're over here with me, show me some love down there in the doobly-doo. All right, so this one is the culmination of 3 books, each one of these books being over 600 pages long. This one, I believe, is the longest of them at 700 pages. Natchez Burning, fantastic thriller. It's not so much a courtroom thriller as his other books, but from what I remember of those books, the courtroom stuff wasn't a big part of those either. The Bone Tree kind of went off the rails in the middle for me. I gave it 4 stars, but it definitely went wackadoodle in the middle of it with this whole JFK assassination revisionist history kind of thing. I didn't care for it much at all. These guys were already Klan. These guys were already, the Double Eagles were already bad enough without having to go, hey, maybe they also murdered the president. I don't understand where any of that came from, but he kind of pulls it back together at the end with the death of a major character that I was completely floored by. But I still ended up only giving the Bone Tree 4 stars. I gave Natchez Burning 5, and I believe the others before that, Turning Angel, I believe I gave 4. It doesn't matter. We're here to talk about Mississippi Blood. Sorry, I keep getting off track. This one is incredible. But I want to throw out the caveat that you have to remember that this is fiction. This is one of those books where you are going to have to tell yourself, this is fiction. I am here to enjoy the ride. The book has a little bit of literary merit, not much. It is a thriller. It is a thriller, and it is fiction. Keep pumping those things into your heads because there's so much going on here that you would not get away with in quote-unquote serious literature. There's a bunch of coincidences and conveniences, so on and so forth. People end up in the places where Iles needs them to be. Certain characters die, even impossibly, that in scenarios that should never have happened. But I think a testament to any good piece of fiction is that you believe it despite not believing it. What did Stephen King say? Fiction is the truth in the lie, or something like that. Good fiction tells you something that is unbelievable and makes you believe it. That's what happened here, although the logical side of my brain is like, ain't no way in hell that would have happened. So if you get in here and you're like, he's crazy, what the hell is he talking about? This obviously is a poorly drawn thriller because no bodyguard would allow this to happen. No FBI agent would allow this to happen. It is fiction, for the love of fucking God. It is fiction. Please stop this nonsense that fiction has to be believable. You will have so much more fun if you shut your brain off and not try to establish non-fiction rapport with a fiction book. Okay? I have been guilty of it in the past. I'm no longer guilty of it. I've been set free, Lord Jesus. I'm good. It's so much more fun. I promise. Come over to my side of the pool. The water's fine. I promise you. Just let it go. You will have so much more fun with your books. Back to this one. Is the entire thing unbelievable? No. There's some really cool stuff. I don't know jack shit. Not a single piece of shit that Jack put on the plate, I don't know none of it about legal stuff, legal thrillers, any of that stuff. So if you're a lawyer out there, maybe don't read the book if it's going to get on your nerves that this stuff couldn't happen, but I believed it, okay? There's some really great stuff in here that I'd never heard of that I actually went and Googled afterwards. I was like, huh, I didn't know that that was a thing. Certain laws, certain sayings, certain this, that, and the other that came along, some history of certain sayings that are used in court that I had no idea. That was cool. Googled it, found out it was true. Not everything was true, but that's, once again, this is fiction. The characters are perfectly drawn. Here in the 6th book of the series, Pencage does kind of start to seem a little too badass for the lawyer come mayor that he is. It's just, I don't know, man. I just went along with it. He does some really cool action stuff in here when he is just a bookworm. He's also an author. So the guy has 3 things going for him. He was a famous prosecutor. He's a famous lawyer of Natchez, not lawyer, mayor of Natchez, Mississippi, and he's a best-selling author. This guy is, it's a power fantasy is what this is, but that's fine in my opinion. It's a power fantasy, and in power fantasies, the guy always gets the girl. Every woman that is interested in men in this book wants to sleep with him at some point in time. Even his fellow lawyer's wife kind of hits on him. It's ridiculous, and he gets some nookie from someone that he probably shouldn't even have a chance with, so on and so forth. It's one of those books, but it's also 700 pages, so that's a very small piece of this story. I don't know how Greg Iles writes as fast as he does. Well, how he reads as fast as he does. Neither one of those do justice to what I'm about to say. I can read 100 pages of this man's writing in the same amount of time it takes me to read 20 pages of everyone else. I remember fighting my way through Stephen King and wondering what I ever saw in him while I was reading Never Flinch and Holly. I was like, maybe I'm just a slower reader now. That's not the case. That's not the case, because I read this Joker in 5 days. That's 700 pages. You can do the math. That's over 100 pages a day. I had immense fun with this. There was, other than some times where I was like, come on, really, Penn, you're sleeping with her, or that kind of thing. There is some casual racism in this book, but there's also overt racism from the characters. If you're bothered by the unfiltered, uncensored use of the N-word, you're going to see a lot of it here, so maybe stay away from it. Even the main character has some hang-ups. There's some lines in here that bothered me. To give you a little piece of history, I tried reading this ages ago when it first came out, and I ended up putting it down because of one line. Greg Iles writes in the book that one character has another character in a chokehold, and that character can tell, the character in the chokehold can tell that the character holding him is black because he smells different. Not bad, just different. This is not the case. If any of you are out there going, well, yeah, black people stink, white people stink, whatever, we don't smell any different unless we eat different things, that kind of thing. But like for the baseline, if white people eat the same thing that a black person does, they're probably going to smell the same way. What I'm getting at is, I've been in locker rooms with plenty of dudes, the black dudes, white dudes, Asian dudes, Arab dudes, Mexican dudes, all these dudes, we just smell like animals. Men, when we stink, we just smell like animals. That's it. Now, ladies might be like, oh, I like the pheromones. That's your own business. That's your own business. Go twiddle your bean over there. What I'm saying is we stink. We just stink. There's nobody out here that can smell the color of skin. This is a fact. Now, that bothered me, so I put the book down. Because I was like, this is because Greg Iles is a white man from Mississippi. And I was like, okay, his upbringing and whatnot is peeking through. And he knew it was wrong when he wrote it, because there's an author justification. If you don't know what author justification is, it's when an author will write a character thinking a certain way and then excuse it right after saying it. Instead of excusing it through actions of the character or whatever and letting the reader decide, the author will intrude onto the story and say, oh, wait, this is fine because A, B, and C. And that's what he did with that line. He said, okay, he could tell the man was black because he smelled a certain way. And then underneath that, he says, not bad, just different. So that is author justification, part of author intrusion. Now, he ends up coming to terms with this by the end of the book, about how all white Southerners, to some degree, are racist because the system is racist. And that's really the only reason why I want to read Southern Man. Because anyone who can acknowledge their own messed up beliefs, their own messed up thoughts, so on and so forth, anyone who can do that has my respect. If you can stop and go, hey, wait, maybe I'm not the angel I think I am. Maybe something is wrong with me, just like there's something wrong with these other people. These bad guys over here. Because none of us are good or bad. There's shades of gray to all of us. And I love that Greg Iles understands that. And by the end of the book, he wrestles with that fact and talks about that. This is a novel about race. So if anything I'm saying to you is making you uncomfortable, run for the hills. What I don't understand is all the people who came out talking about how woke Southern Man is. They said they enjoyed the previous 6 books. Did y'all read the same books, or is it just because nowadays you hate based on one thing, and that's the fact that we don't like a certain president? I think that's it. Now, do we do the same thing? Yes. Are we justified? That's not a bridge I'm going to go down. I will let you decide. No, I will let your children decide, and history will be the answer to that question. I won't be here too much longer. That's the truth. But what I am seeing, I am sad to be leaving this world to my kids. At the same time, they're going to be all right. Because they're decent people, period. I don't think decent people can support certain people. I don't think certain people are going to be remembered fondly. And considering a lot of those people live in the South where tradition and legacy are key, I think there's going to be some rude awakenings for your children very, very soon. And this book tackles all of that. The idea of legacy, the idea of blood. It's called Mississippi Blood, after all. But with Mississippi Blood, I don't agree with where the title came from. Because I don't think one type of person is any better than another type of person just based on how they are born. You choose what you become. You fall down the hill that you are given. You either do or you don't. Do or do not. There is no try. Whatever you want to quote, it's you who makes the choices that you make, and I don't understand why anyone would choose hate. Hate is not born into us. The possibility that we can be anything is a beautiful, beautiful thing, and why so many people choose to be ignorant and hateful, I will never understand. Am I hateful? Hell yeah, I'm hateful. I'm hateful of purposefully ignorant people. I am hateful of the vast majority of my race because of history, because of where we are at now and how we keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. So no, learning about history does not help. We are bound, set, and determined to repeat this nonsense. Every year, after every decade, after every century, we just keep repeating the same nonsense. It hasn't even been 100 years since the dude with the funny mustache, and now we have the orange one. It hasn't even been 100 years. Not even 100 years, and we're already repeating ourselves. But this is a book review. I'm sure many of you have already clicked away, or you're getting ready to type down in those comments, and I hope you do. I really, really hope you do. because I want you seen for the entire duration of this video being out there. Because I don't bother to read your comments anymore. I have everything turned off unless for certain specifics I can see you. It's a wonderful thing what they do. So I don't even have to see your hate. Greg Iles doesn't have to see your reviews either. I'm sure he doesn't care. I'm sure it's meant to enrage you. It's meant to make you think. You're not going to, but these things are meant for that. I love fiction with a message, and I am 100% down with the message of this book. But most of all, if you're still watching, if you are hanging on to my words, wondering what the hell I'm going to say next, is if you did not like the rant that I just made, you are not going to like this book. But until next time, I have been E, you have been you. This has been another book review. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye!